Hey everyone, what's up? This is Simon from DevTactic, back with a tutorial on Socket.io. Yay! Today we're gonna build a very simple Ionic chat application. We will first craft the Node.js server that holds our sockets. Then we will build the application, which is just a chat where the user is joining as an anonymous user and can send text, but we can see the text from other users, and that's basically one of the use cases of the socket that we want to implement. So let's get started. I've already set up the Node.js server because it's just one file that we need. If you want to follow it closely, I created a new folder. I run npm init, which basically creates a package JSON with a few information. And then you can install Express for the server framework and Socket.io. So once you've done this, let's get first of all rid of this. This is just the Express server, right? So the app, the server created and running on port, whatever you want it to. So then I also added the socket stuff. And basically you've wrapped first of all everything inside this connection block, because the user has to connect, and then we got access to this socket variable. And from the socket, we could lock this actually out perhaps later on. We will see a lot of information stored that we don't really always need, but some of them are interesting. And we can also store like our own session information in Socket, like a username. But first of all, from the flow of events, the app will connect, and then you or the app sends set name. So we want to set our current nickname, for example. In that case, we will set it directly on the socket object, the name that was passed to it. Of course, we will see that part from the Ionic app. And then just as a little information, we also bounce this back to the chat application. So every user would see a little notification if we handle it, which does emit. So emit emits an event to the default namespace. We will not go into details of namespaces and other more complicated things. That would be the place inside the Ionic Academy, where we got a course on the topic of socket as well. So basically, on reacts to something incoming, and emit will send something out to our socket chat and everyone connected. And whoever is listening to users changed will get this information and can handle it in whatever way. And same now for send message. This is not really doing a send message. Send message is called from the Ionic app to the server, and then Socket listens to this event, handles the message, and also emits the message to everyone else connected to the chat, including the Socket username to which we got access and also the current date. And then on disconnect, so this is a reserved name, I think. No, I think it isn't. Disconnect, connection at least is disconnect. I'm not 100% sure, but once a user disconnects, we will also inform the rest of the people in that chat that a user left. And we handle this with event left or event joined in the beginning. So that's our very basic server. And we can simply run it by calling node index.js, and there we go. You can also have a REST API, and just a part of your server is the socket. And it looks like we got some connection. You see, there's really a lot of information in this namespace, Socket.io. Not really sure if there's anything interesting right now. Well, not really. Just want to show you one more thing to test things out. There's an app called Socket.io Tester. It's actually an Electron app. Perhaps it is built with, I don't know. We could take a look at it. Source, I guess it's some kind of JavaScript. I don't know. Reducers, whatever. Anyway, I used it. It is okay, I would say. But it was a bit, or it wasn't working 100%. So whenever I send a message, we can add events like message. And then whenever we send an event, we will also see the emitted event from the server. It does a good job in some way, but I couldn't get it to work 100% with our example. So just as an information, socket.io tester, look it on GitHub up, and then you will see the tool. So now our server is running and we can focus on the Ionic side of things. And I've already created a blank new Ionic application as always. Let's get a bit more space in here. And then we gonna have to install a package. Of course, we do have to, which is called ngx socket.io. And maybe I can also bring this in real quickly. So that's the package. With Ionic 3, there was a different package. Now it is called ngx socket.io. Simply install it, configure it to use your URL, and then use the functions described like here. There we also got all of them. And let's do this. The problem now is if I run Ionic serve, you will see that there's actually a problem with the implementation or the ngx socket.io package, which we will have to fix with a little dirty, ugly hack. But let's wait for it until we see the error, because otherwise that looks pretty strange otherwise. If I just add the code and you assume that something is going on. So let's make it a bit smaller. And of course, there's no problem, perhaps because we're not yet using socket. So let's continue with the homepage. We will craft a real simple example. We will not even have, I don't know, just super basic example. So actually we can copy this, I think, from the, yeah, I'm jumping too fast. I have to slow down, I'm sorry. So let's go back here and copy this because I'm too lazy to type it. We have to import the two things from the package, and then we're not listening here, but I think it was there. And also to the imports goes the socket.io module for root with the configuration. So you can have different namespaces and a lot more options in here. Yeah, not really helpful. But right now we just need the basics. That's totally fine to get started. And perhaps I can now already show you what I mean with the error once we start to import socket. Actually, I'm pretty confident that the error should now arise. If not, yeah, there we go. Global is not defined. A very strange error. I didn't do a lot of research on it, but I encountered it with other packages as well. And one fix to this is actually to go to your polyfills, scroll down to the application imports, and add this great line to your application imports. This doesn't really harm your application. It looks a bit ugly. It prevents the error we've seen here. So now we are satisfied and can actually really continue. So what we need is a message input. We need a way to send a message. We need to set the current username. We need to display all the messages. Just a few things, right? So let's get started. First of all, this will be our message input. Then we got an array of messages. Actually, this is not an observable. We will have an observable, but from that observable, we will always fill the messages, because once there's a new message on socket or broadcasted or emitted to us, we only get that message. So we have no database behind our application. If you want to have like a real chat with where users get the message when they're not logged in, then you have to implement a database and perhaps also push notifications for new messages. So that's a lot more that we can discuss inside the Ionic Academy, but that's really, I think, a bit too much for here. And we will also have current user set to nothing. And then on init, let's add this. I'm still not 100% sure why it is not automatically in the homepage. And also implements, of course. And now we get the complaint because we haven't added ng on init, but now we're fine. So let's inject socket and get the party started. I think first of all, socket connect, And now we're connected to Socket. There's actually also a way to have this more secure with a username and only logged in users and authentication. That's a bit more complicated. I did this in the past. It is definitely possible. So yeah, we can talk about this in the Academy if you want. And then just to make this really easy, we will have a default like anon username for every new joining user. And let's just call them user new date get time. We assume users are not joining in the exact same millisecond, which of course will happen if I run two browsers at the same time. But I think you can abstract a bit from this and think about a better solution for your case. We will also store this because I will borrow some code from the how to create Ionic chat bubbles with elastic text area, which works pretty well with our current application. And therefore, we need a way to have two different groups of your messages and other user messages, and therefore we have to keep track of the current user. And then we can also start the first socket action already and say socket emit. So doing the same thing like the server did, we emit a new event, set name to the current username. And actually I think we could already run this if I find my code again. Okay, let's add a little console log in here, set name, surname is also fine, whatever. And then we also have to restart this, and I will also get rid of the log because that's just too much information. We don't need this. And maybe also what happens if we do this is we should get back an event that a new user joined. And that's the second part already, which is socket from event or from one time event. We will use from event and the user's changed event. So that's the name of the event that we added right here. So whenever a name was set, we emit that a new user joined. So now the server is emitting the event and we are catching the event, which is actually an observable. So that's quite nice. So we can subscribe to the data and console log got data. So if we're lucky, we now automatically get the username or set the username, we emit it to the server, and then we get back data the user joined. And if we look at the logs of our server, we see, yeah, it's of course not a time log, it's just a log. Thanks, but we should see it again because the user, we're not seeing it again. There we go, got data and set name. So everything works already just with the basic configuration of socket, and that's really, really great. It is actually super easy to use. So from now on, we just need a few more things to craft the basic version of our chat. First of all, we might want to show a little toast. So private toast controller, so we don't have to rely on the console logs, right? And then whenever the users are changed, we want to reflect this, and first of all get data user. So that's the user data. And then if data event is equal to left, we will say this start show toast user left, and then let's use the cool style user left user. Okay, and guess what? Actually, we can craft this in like one line. No, we won't. Let's keep this simple. User joined, and that's it. And now, if we open the app, we should see in the beginning that we actually ourselves joined the chat group. Great so far. let's implement the rest of the fun in here before we do the view, which is not really that hard. First of all, let's use socket again to subscribe to the messages event. So again, socket from event message, subscribe message, and then whenever we got a new message, as I said, we will have to push it to our messages array. So simply go ahead and push it. And also maybe just for us, do a little log in here, new message. Okay, we're able to join the chat with a name. We can show if user joined or left. We can react to new incoming messages. And the last thing is to send a message. So a function to send a message is super easy as well. We've already seen how to emit new events to the socket connection. So again, this dot socket emit, and I think it was called send message, the event. And then as the information, we will use the current message and also reset it because, well, that's just how a chat application works. Your input should be cleared once you send it. Just to make everything, or just to round up things, I would also implement the Ion view will leave, and in here have this dot socket disconnect. So we got a full circle of socket. Right, when you leave the page, or perhaps you have it in your logout functionality in another service, then you should also disconnect from the socket so the user is not receiving any new messages. So socket connect, do whatever you want with emit to send new messages to the socket, or react to events by calling from event with the event name, handle the data, and basically that's it. So let's continue with the homepage. And what's the time? 70 minutes. I think we should hurry a bit up. So first of all, I will bring in some styling. As I said, you can look this up on the other tutorial, or I think I still fixed that bug. Or you can, of course, also find all the code linked below on the Devdactic blog. So just some styling for messages, my message and other messages, so we can see on which side we want to position it. A little bit styling for the time, for the message input that we will put to the bottom, and then for the message button. I actually don't know why we need this. Anyhow, I can bring in the footer for now, I think, because that's just a lot of code and basically only an Ion text area with the auto grow, which is pretty cool if you have a text input, but I found that you can't limit it to have like maximum rows. So max rows, which seems to work with a regular text area, is not working here. I think we could also, I don't know, I will leave it for now. If you have a better solution like a little expanding text area but that stops at 4 rows, please let me know below the video. And then we get the Ion button to send the message. So now our view should already look a bit different because we got the input at the bottom. And we are now able to send a test message, and normally, yes, we get a log that a new message was created with the message and also the user, although we are just sending the text. So as we've implemented before, socket knows our username or some other data, whatever you want to like. So for example, the user logs into your application and then you set the user ID to socket. So then it can be handled all the time. The message could be stored in your database with the user ID and blah, blah, blah. I think you know what I mean. All right, let's continue with the Devdactic chat. No, Devdactic chat. And today is actually the hottest day in Germany, perhaps this year. So I really have to hurry up. My studio, if you're following my vlogs, you know, it's a small room and I got a lot of light turned on. So the temperature is really, yeah, Like time is working against me, I would say. So here we go. Let's also log out a little information. You joined the chat as current user. So then we should see all the time that we join. It's like an, I don't know, IRC chat from some years ago, if you still remember IRC. And also it's like a very anonymous chat. Everybody has the same name and you only see the messages when you're connected. So that's really like Web 1.0. Anyway, for now, what we need to do is ionrow ng4 over all our messages. So let message of messages. And then we craft the information rows. And that's a lot of typing. I will just bring this in simply because I think it's basically the same. What we do is if the message is from another user, we will give it a size of 9. As you see, different user comparing to our current user, and displaying the user, the message, and the created ad. Is that actually a value? Yeah, I think. And if it's our own message, we will have an offset of 3, so we will move it a bit to the right and a different styling class. And the result of this now looks like, hopefully, something good. Maybe I will already do a new chat and nope, we don't need this. So you see the user joined actually. Now you see user left and then again joined, which is this ID. So hello from the other side. And there we see it. This user has the message on the right side, this user on the left. I am the real Simon. Again, right side, left side, so it just switched. And I don't know, if I use a new incognito, could I have a third user? Is that possible? What are the odds? I am number 3. Actually, yeah, we can have 3 users with a new incognito window. Maybe my head is above this, so there you go. You should be able to see it. And that's already enough for today. We're 20 minutes, I think. So this was the basic implementation of Ionic 4 and Socket.io with a simple node server. As I said in between, more information in the Ionic Academy. Check it out. Links, of course, below the video. I would love to see you inside supporting me as a creator on YouTube and everywhere around. And of course, if you have more ideas for Socket or want to see more videos, perhaps a bit more complex example or anything, just let me know. Of course, subscribe to the channel, hit the like for the video, which helps me as well. And then have a great day and I'll catch you inside the next video.